Jump off that exhausting hamster wheel and into balanced living with Dr. Marissa.
Promise you joy in the mystery.
Dr. Marissa, also known as the Asian Oprah. Her mission, to be a beneficial presence on the planet. Her purpose, to be your personal advocate to live, laugh, love, learn. Her life motto, don't die wondering. Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And welcome. You are tuned into Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA AM 1050, FM 102.3, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, iTunes, Spotify, Audible. And I always forget the rest of the list, but you can find it. You just Google Dr. Marissa, and I'm here to splatter more hope and happiness all over you, as well as show you my on-location spotlight interviews, because I want to balance out all the bad news that you get everywhere, even when you don't want it. You just turn on whatever device you are tuned into and you will find bad news. There's always some story about someone did someone wrong, some government did something wrong, and or a natural disaster. And that seems to be why my big brother Michael Bernard Beckwith calls it media, the weapon of mass distraction. So if you don't choose where you're tuning in, like you are now, thank you very much, then you might be led by the nose, by the eyes, and the ears into thinking that the world is going to hell in a handbasket because of all that bad news. But the good news is, one of the most powerful tools we have in life, which I talked about yesterday morning, is the word, the choice word. We can choose what we tune into. So I appreciate that you've tuned into this show, because I am determined that you feel better about yourself, about your life, about what's going on, even when it's not easy to do so. It's called #unconditional happiness. So all week we've been using the question of the day as, how do I feel better? With everything that's going on, how do I feel better? And yesterday we talked about soothing the critic in our head that keeps telling us that we're not good enough. As we've seen in all media now, people becoming more comfortable, the Prince and the Duchess, as well as Simone Biles, as well as the fabulous tennis player Naomi Osaka wrote on Instagram. The good news is we're talking about it. The bad news is awareness is not enough. Awareness is great, but then we have to do something about it. So I've been giving you tools all week on how you can feel better. And I have to say, this is one of those Happy 88 tools that is easier said than done, because sometimes we just can't let it go. We just can't accept what is. And it's interesting, the author, best-selling author and philosopher Eckhart Tolle said that there's 3 words that are the secret to happiness. 3 words that will help you be happy where you are. And that's called one with life. It's not I love you, it's one with life. And I have learned myself that I can choose to spend the rest of my life being angry and resentful and regretful and frustrated and justifiably indignant about why I did not have a normal, loving parent, why I didn't have a mom who thought I was the most beautiful child like the rest of my friends had. Why was it that I had to listen to being told that I was fat, ugly, and clumsy? Why did I have to grow up thinking that I was not all that? Because I was made aware on a daily basis how bad or wrong I was, and how life isn't fair because I had to have that as an upbringing, and I would never get ahead, and I would never catch up to all those people who had normal, quote unquote, homes. Well, if you are identifying with me right now, I have some bad news for you. That's 7 out of 10 of us have had difficult or traumatic childhoods. My honorable moniker, Oprah, says it's as high as 8 out of 10. Some psychologists say it's as high as 93% of us who've had damage in our childhoods. That's the bad news. The good news is we're the majority. So if we are the majority that have had childhood trauma, why do we think there's something wrong with us? Isn't it majority rules? Isn't it majority means that that's normal and that pain in life is mandatory? So if the majority of us had that kind of childhood, then how could we all be damaged goods? We are not damaged goods. We've had some chiseling growing up. We've had things done, not to us. It feels like it was to us, but it was for us. It was there to help mold us into the magnificent, one-of-a-kind, wonderful creatures that we all are, that we are 7.3 unique, loving, lovable, and loved beings. And I ended that with the show yesterday. I wanted to start today's show with that because it's so important that we exercise our own muscle of self-approval. So that's why this particular Happy 88 tool today on how we can feel better is not easy, because a lot of us spend our entire lives walking around with antenna up going, who loves me? Who approves of me? Who respects me? Who is commenting on my post? How many followers do I have? Who's saying nice things about me? Who's giving me awards? Who's putting me on a pedestal? And if we measure ourselves through the eyes and the mouths and the handwriting of those around us, we will surely be unhappy, because there's an African American saying that I love: when there is no enemy inside, then no one outside can hurt us. Because you're going to get, especially if you're doing something in your life, especially if you're not mediocre, if you're actually standing up for something or taking a step out or being noticed, you're going to get criticism. But I have learned that the best tool for me is called bake your own cake. So at the beginning of the day and at the end of the day, I have to know that I am 88% fabulous. I'm not 100% fabulous. I'm not perfect, but I'm 88% good. And I think that if you're listening right now, the majority of you, I would say 88% of you are 88% fabulous. But because you keep focusing on people's chatter around you, or looking for love in all the wrong places, or looking for compliments and approval where you probably won't get it. Isn't it interesting too? I don't know about you, but it's like I will get 99 compliments and I'll get one insult. Where does my head go? Does it go to the 99 compliments? No, it will gravitate towards that one person who called me ugly when I was 14, or to my one MBA student. I hope he wouldn't be listening, but I taught MBAs in the MBA school at Anderson at UCLA for a number of years, way back when I was first in California. And I taught 3 courses: managerial interpersonal communication, organization development, and human resource management. And from all the people's evaluations, I did a great job. I was a cool professor. I had some say, I love the way she dresses, or she's a great teacher. She's like Robin Williams and Dead Poets Society, and all these really nice compliments. And I had one guy who said, I would rather chew glass than listen to Dr. Marissa's lecture again. And it obviously a shard of glass into my heart. And obviously I love myself enough to tell all the hundreds of thousands of you who are listening right now, according to the numbers. So now you have stuff on me, but I wanted to tell you that story because it is true that it doesn't matter how much success I have or how many compliments I have. If I do not choose to focus on those things that I know about me to the core of who I am, I know that I'm not perfect. I know that I have a bit of a big mouth. I know that I can step in it. I know that I'm a good promoter and it bothers some people. I know I talk about my book and it bothers some people. I know that it wasn't easy living with me growing up as me as a mom for my daughters, because I am a little out there. I know that I'm not everybody's cup of tea, but I also do know that I do and say everything that I do from my heart, and because I really believe that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And when I get compliments from Christine Kingston on my YouTube of yesterday's show saying that I should look it up because I need to focus on the compliments that I get as well, because it's important for me to balance out all that negativity for myself by showing my internal critic, look, I got a compliment. I am helping people when I get messages. I actually got this in the mail. I'm going to show off. I got a commendation from the County of LA to Dr. Marissa Pay for the Board of Supervisors join in working together to combat racism in all forms and stands in solidarity with Asian American community in the County of Los Angeles. The Cerritos Residents Against Asian Hate Crimes event. I covered that and I got a commendation for it. And so there's so many things that I know that I am 88% fabulous about. And I screw up, that's my 12%. And I have to be the one that acknowledges and recognizes that on my own. That's called baking your own cake. Criticism and compliments are just the icing, but the actual cake I bake. I'm the one who decides whether or not I can like myself or I approve of myself. And so this is a hard tip. This is a hard Happy 88 tool to put in your toolkit. This is something you have to work at, because you can't just look in the mirror and go, I love you, I love myself. And then in the next minute, beat yourself up for something you did wrong, because you'll always have that critic's voice saying that. But it's up to me to choose to see all compliments out there and all criticism out there as just the icing on the cake. I bake my cake. So here's something for you to write down, not if you're driving. Pull over or get this after on my YouTube channel. It's show number 524. So you can go on my YouTube channel, and this is what I want you to write down. And I want you to put it on your nightstand. So before you go to bed, instead of get off your phone, quit scrolling, quit looking at the news, the sinkhole of the news, you press, and you end up wasting an hour, or you're still awake at 2:30 in the morning. I know who you are. No, I'm not spying on you, but I've done it too. So instead of doing that, instead of talking to someone on the phone for 4 hours, giving them advice about something that they're not going to take your advice, because that's why they're calling one more time, instead of going through your day and beating yourself up for all the things that you did not complete, or thinking about the insult that someone gave you, or playing games, guilty of that too. Instead of that, I want you to memorize this or put it on your nightstand and read it every night before you go to bed. Ready? Have I done the very best that I can with the time that I have if I have, then I did well. And I've got some great news for you. 99% of the time, you're going to say, I have. Have I done the best that I can with the time that I have and the resources I have? Everybody does the best that they can with the time that they have and the resources they have. Every single person, no matter who you are. But we have to be able to give ourselves that credit at the end of the day, so that when we can go to sleep. Then we can really rest and relax and get that very necessary sleep to keep us healthy, physically, mentally, emotionally. Got it? You are the boss of you. You approve of you. If you cannot approve of you, how the fork do you expect anyone else to approve of you? Hello? So there's your answer to the question of the week. How do I feel better right now? So hopefully that helps. We're going to be right back with more of Take My Advice, I'm Not Using It, Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show. I have some on-location interviews that I want to share with you. What's going on in the community? What's good about our community? What's good about our politicians? What's good about the government? What's good about you? What's good about me? That's when we come back. Keep it here. KCAA, the station that leaves no listener behind.
Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And we're back. And you're tuned into Take My Advice, I'm Not Using It, Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, AM 1050, FM 102.3, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere, especially on my free subscribe YouTube channel. Those of you who aren't there yet, I'm so grateful. We're over 234,000 views now, and it's a free subscribe. So not only can you get all 523 of my past shows, you can also get my red carpet interviews with Halle Berry and John Travolta and Quincy Jones and Frank Shankwitz and beloved Don Wells, who we lost this last year, Marianne from Gilligan's Island. I have a special playlist for those of you who are big Marianne fans instead of Ginger, with all of the 4 or 5 interviews that I've had with her. So go to my YouTube channel and you will have a plethora of hashtag positively opinionated things to listen to. Okay. And I promised Dr. Marissa reporting live. I have an entire little series of something that's going on with recycling, which is kind of cool, and how we are taking care of our planet. And some of you know, I'm a beat reporter doing freelance with the New York News Agency, which also allows me to cover things that I think are good and show that we are doing something for our environment in this particular case, as well, followed by a great little interview with a really cool firefighter who's got some advice with how both kids and adults can help with the fires in California. So enjoy those. I'll be right back.
Good morning. This is Dr. Marissa reporting live. You know me as the Asian Oprah. I'm here in Culver City with another mayor. So I'm going to let him introduce himself and why we're here.
Welcome to Culver City. My name is Alex Fische. I'm currently the mayor of Culver City, and we're here to welcome the director of Cal Recycle and talk about the wild success of our mobile recycling program.
Beautiful. And right here, is this the launch of it?
It's been going for a while, since I think last October, November. We were one of 5 cities that, with the 5 first pilot programs, and I believe we've been the most successful. We've seen recycling go up in this program by more than 300%.
Great. And why should someone recycle?
Well, I
I know.
mean,
That's a lead-in question.
Yeah. I mean, let's start with reduce. Let's use a little less, especially the plastics. Reuse when you can. And the final step is recycle, because the earth only has so much, and we need as light a footprint as we can have.
Absolutely. Is there any concerns? Have you met with any, no, we don't want this, and why?
No, this has been one of the neat things about this program is that it addresses some of the issues with stationary recycling centers, in that there's no junk at the end of the day. People are not dumping batteries or other things that aren't really recyclable, but need to be handled in special ways. So this is really focused. It's really clean. It's been a great success.
Great. So this is a mobile recycle. How do people find out more if they want to know where it is?
Well, we need to improve that. COVID's made it hard to do the outreach, but you can always look at the city's website, culvercity.org, and search for the mobile recycling, or look at the environmental services page, or you can check out the SoCal Recycling.
Beautiful, beautiful. So I was just with Eric Garcetti, our Los Angeles mayor, and he for now. No, don't say that. When I do this at the end of every show, so if you wouldn't mind doing it with me, it's called Peace In,
Absolutely.
Peace Out, World Peace Through Inner Peace. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right, yeah. Peace in, peace out, world peace through inner peace. This is Dr. Marissa reporting live in Culver City with the mayor, reminding you to have the best day ever. Good morning. This is Dr. Marissa reporting live. You know me as the Asian Oprah, and I'm here on the beat in Palos Verdes, and I have a very distinguished gentleman to tell me why you're here.
We are here right now. I'm firefighter night with the Los Angeles Fire Department, and we're just doing basically fire awareness for children. We have all the children here in the back, you can see. We did an awareness with talking about the safety drills in the home. Edith, exit drills in the home. We have when to check your smoke detectors every 6 months. That, like when you change your clocks at home, change your batteries in your smoke detectors. And then also for little kids, what phone number do you call when you have an emergency? Obviously 911.
Yeah.
And that's about it. We're just making, connecting with the public, and it also makes the children not afraid of us when we come in uniform or in all of our fire suits. They're going to be scared. Well, now they see us and they go, "Oh, I remember that was a nice gentleman that helped us out at the event that we did." So.
Beautiful. And I see that you have a great audience over there. You've got a balloon guy. Yeah. Someone just came and gave him a fire hat to wear.
That was me.
So that was you. I got that on film. So what should adults know during this? I mean, California right now, we're suffering, right? We hear about all the fires. What can people do to make sure we're not contributing?
The adults, it depends on where you live. Like in areas like this, you see how flourish all the brush and stuff is? Need to take care of some of that stuff. If it's getting dead, if it's growing over the top of your house, just clean up the brush. And so when a wildfire does come through, it's not going to impact your house or catch your house on fire. That's one of the main things we get is all the brush. It looks great, but if it's overabundance, it's going to catch on fire, and then it's going to travel on to get your house on fire, and then that's where we come in and try and save you and your house and the property.
Right. So we can do our part, help the firefighters out. Thank you for all that you do. I really appreciate the service that we get in California. I do this little thing at the end of the show. It's called Peace In, Peace Out, World Peace Through Inner Peace. Do you want to do it with me?
Sure.
All right.
Peace in,
peace out, world peace.
World peace.
Through inner peace.
Through inner peace.
This is Dr. Marissa reporting live, highlighting and balancing out all the bad news out there with what's good, what's right with our community, what's right with our world, what's right with people that help us. So.
And wait, can I do one more?
Yeah.
Peace out.
I'm going to have to learn it. Ready?
Right. Peace
out. Oh, I learned something new.
And aren't those cool? And when we come back after the news break, because we are talking about not just mental health, emotional health, but physical health. And his name is Chris Wark, and he actually cured himself of stage 3 cancer through his diet and his mindset. So when we come back, that's what we're going to be spotlighting. So don't go away. You're tuned into Take My Advice. I'm Not Using It. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, the station that leaves no listener behind.
back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And we're back. Thanks for coming back to Take My Advice. I'm Not Using It. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, AM 1050, FM 102.3, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, Audible, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, iTunes, and of course, my free subscribe YouTube channel. And I would be remiss if I didn't do my Asian Oprah giveaway today. We're doing that every single day this week. Congratulations to all the people who have won Mommy What Her Feelings book, as well as my audiobook, 8 Ways to Happiness. And since we are focused on emotional health, that again will be my Asian Oprah giveaway. Go to drmarissa.life and put down mental health, and I will send you a link to the audiobook to my #1 bestseller, 8 Ways to Happiness, from wherever you are. And just in case, somebody asked me the other day, are you still coaching individually? And I don't have a lot of time, but I have one graduating. So I have a slot open. If you're interested in being happier than you currently are and like to have an 8-week short course on happiness, then please do contact me again at drmarissa.life. You can also book a little assessment time with me at drmarissa1.youcanbook.me, and we can have a little chat and see if it's a fit for you. All right. So without further ado, please enjoy this wonderful, magnificent guy named Chris Wark and his ability to heal himself with his diet. Enjoy.
Focused on health and good health and how that can influence our hope and happiness. And I'm so grateful to have someone that I actually found on Facebook. I love social media. I've been doing this thing called Dr. Marissa's Pin Up Award for the day, or whenever I get to it. And pin up means positive, inspiring news. And so it flashed by from my Facebook friend Sandra Zillis, and there was this video, and it said, young man beats colon cancer with vegan diet. And I went, oh, and I was in Toronto where I was over the holidays, my hometown. And I said to my vegan daughter, she's 17, I said, oh, look, Chloe, someone who supports your veganism. And so we watched it, and I was very impressed. And so I Facebook messaged him, and next thing you know, he's on the air with me. So without further ado, we have from Memphis, Tennessee, Skyping in today, Chris Wark. Welcome, Chris.
Hello. How are you? Thanks for having me.
It is so nice to have you here and to talk to you and get firsthand what happened to you way back in 2003. So as per usual, what I like to do with my guests, if you would indulge me, is just sit with your feet on the ground and your palms up, and then gently close your eyes and connect with me for a minute through the breath, taking a deep breath in through the nose and releasing. And again, in through the nose. And connecting with you through chi, eternal energy. And one last breath in, opening my heart to your experience. And releasing and opening your eyes. And we're back. So take me back, Chris, to 2003. And what was going on in your body that you went to the doctor?
Yeah, I was having pain. That's what was going on.
Pain where?
Yeah, abdominal pain.
Okay.
And, I thought it was an ulcer, and I put it off. I'd never had an ulcer before, and I'd never really been to the hospital before.
Mm-hmm.
Never had any major health problems. But I...
How old were you?
I was 26.
Okay. And you were working, going to school?
I was working, yeah. I'd been out of school. I was working as a real estate investor, and been married a couple of years.
Okay.
Really just about a year when I started having this pain. So,
okay.
But I put it off, and I thought, hopefully it'll get better. Mm-hmm. My body had always healed in the past. Anytime I'd hurt myself, it healed. So I was operating on an assumption that my body would heal.
Okay.
And
so you let it go for how long?
And so probably, I'm still fuzzy on this, but it was somewhere like maybe 6 to 9 months.
Okay.
That I had this sort of nagging problem, and the pain would come and go. It wasn't a constant thing.
Okay.
And usually I would feel it in the afternoon, sort of as after lunch, I would have some pain, and then I would have some pain after dinner, usually within a couple hours after dinner. So it gradually got worse and worse, and then by the fall, I finally was like, okay, I've got to go see a doctor. Yeah. So they thought I had an ulcer, gave me some ulcer medication, didn't help, and eventually I ended up getting a colonoscopy. I was referred to a gastroenterologist. They did a colonoscopy, and they found this golf ball-sized tumor in my large intestine. And
any
that
history
was a surprise.
Of this? Any history of this in your family?
No, there was. I had no family history.
Okay.
And so the next day he called me and said, "Well, we sent it to the lab. You have colon cancer. I'm going to have a surgeon call you. We've got to get this out of your body as soon as possible before it spreads and kills you."
Okay. And your reaction was?
Yeah, so my reaction was, okay, I mean, like any cancer patient, when you get a diagnosis like that, everything is basically a whirlwind.
Yes.
And the way the conventional cancer industry works is they want to get you on the conveyor belt as quickly as possible, and not to fault them too much here, but they're doing the best they can.
Right,
they think
and they believe that. Right, they believe that this is the only way to treat cancer.
Correct.
Okay, because you do say industry, and I absolutely agree with you, but I want to make sure too that we're balancing out. It's not what I love about your approach and what you say and what you've said on your website and your video is that you don't have to freak out. You don't have to get on that conveyor belt right away. But there's so many forces because of the industry, which they are actually doing what they think is best. You're right. They're doing the best that they can. But that initial rush and your words of wisdom around don't freak out, I love. And I wanted to make sure that we nailed that first point for listeners.
Thank you.
Yes.
And I'll come back to that too, because I learned that later.
Right.
But so I was a very typical cancer patient. They rushed me into surgery. I didn't have any time to think about my life or my health or why I had cancer or what I could change, what I could do different. Had surgery, I was diagnosed in December, had surgery about a week and a half later. So I was diagnosed, actually, I think it was December 22nd, and then I had surgery on the 30th.
That was your Christmas present.
Yeah, that was it. And they wanted me to have surgery the next day, and I was like, I don't want to be in the hospital on Christmas. So we delayed it a week.
Okay.
So anyway, they took out a third of my large intestine. Wow. They took out the tumor. When they went in, it was worse than they thought. It was stage 3C. They were hoping it was stage 2.
Okay.
And when I woke up, they gave me the bad news. Well, you're worse than we thought. You're going to need 9 to 12 months of chemotherapy as soon as you recover from surgery. So maybe starting about 6 weeks after surgery.
Wow.
At that point, it was like, oh boy, I hadn't even considered chemotherapy, and because they told me I probably wouldn't need it, and now I'm thinking about it. Now I'm thinking, wow,
And just because I'm not familiar, and I don't know how many listeners are familiar with cancer, what's the difference? Why do they say stage 1, and it's stage 4 is the worst, right? So you had stage 3, which is pretty bad.
Yeah. So in terms of colon cancer, stage 1 would be a small tumor.
Okay.
That's on one side of the colon wall. Stage 2 means it's broken through to the other side of the wall of your large intestine.
Okay.
So it's bigger. It's it's bigger.
Okay.
Stage 3 means it has metastasized to your lymph nodes.
Mm-hmm. That's bad.
Yeah, that's bad. That means it's spreading. And stage 4 means it is metastasized to other organs.
Okay.
So there may be spots in your liver, your lungs, your bones, or whatever. So I wasn't stage 4. Mm-hmm. I was stage 3C, which is just right before 4. So it was on its way to my liver.
Okay.
That's basically what they told me. So there were a couple things that happened in the hospital. So initially I thought, okay, I guess I'm the cancer patient. I guess I'm going to do chemo. Mm-hmm. I guess this is my life now.
Right.
And it was pretty depressing feeling.
Yes.
And but a couple things happened that were serendipitous, and it started me on this. It's almost kind of like you're driving down the road and you get sideswiped, and another car kind of knocks you into the wrong lane.
Right.
So it was kind of like there were some things that happened that were sort of like that. So the first one was,
but in a good lane, not in one that you're going to get run over in.
Well, initially it was just a different lane.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not the one you're going to get run over.
Okay.
But into a different lane. So, or almost like knocking you into a lane that ends up being an interstate exit. Okay.
Yes, I can see that. I can see that.
That's the best analogy.
And let me just, for anyone who joined us late, you are listening to my fabulous guest, Focus on Health, Chris Wark, calling in from Memphis, Tennessee. And I found him on Facebook, and he beat cancer. And that's his site, and this is his story. And you're listening to Take My Advice. I'm Not Using It. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa. Go back to it, Chris. I have to do this because this is radio.
Hospital.
So you took an exit that you weren't planning on taking.
Yeah, so this is what happened. The first meal they served was a sloppy Joe.
In the hospital. Okay. Our connection's bad. Did something happen on your end?
No.
Okay. We just had a little hiccup. Go ahead. So you had a sloppy Joe.
Yeah, they served me a sloppy Joe after cutting out a third of my large intestine, and I thought, why are they serving this kind of terrible cafeteria food to sick?
Right.
And especially someone with cancer. That didn't make sense to me at all.
Okay.
The second thing that happened in the hospital was the day I was checking out, the surgeon, he came in there, asked him, I said, is there any food I need to eat or whatever? Because I didn't want to go home and screw it up, right? I didn't want to go home.
You want to be a good patient.
Sauce,
right.
Yeah, or some Doritos and then screw up the whole surgery. So he just don't lift anything heavier than a beer. That was his advice.
That's it.
That was his nutritional advice. So again, I'm like, I'm just thinking, man, I can't believe they don't care they don't care what I eat.
Right.
Doesn't matter, I guess.
Right.
So went home, and as I was recovering from the surgery, I was thinking about my life, and I was thinking about chemotherapy, and I'd never really actually known anyone that had gone through cancer in my life.
Okay, so this is very unfamiliar.
Yeah, it was completely. But yet I'd seen a few people out in the world that were obviously cancer patients, and they looked so scary, right? They looked so sick and so bad.
Right.
And I knew that the chemotherapy is what made them look that much.
Yeah.
And I knew it was poison, and I knew it was extremely toxic and your hair falls out, right? I knew.
Right. My dad went through it. He had lymphoma. And it is true what they say, that it's not necessarily the cancer that kills you, it's the chemo.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I knew very little, but enough to be wary of putting poison in my body. And really, as the more I thought about it, the less it made sense, because the idea of poisoning my way back to health did not make sense.
Okay.
So
good way to put it.
I had this dilemma because they were telling me I needed to do chemotherapy, and my instincts, my intuition was saying no, don't do that.
Okay.
Do not do that.
Where was your wife in all of this?
So she was, she was with me.
Yes.
So she was with me, but she didn't really understand what I was thinking. I had not told her everything that was on my mind. We were both just scared.
Right.
And so we prayed. We prayed together about it, and I just said, God, if there's another way besides chemotherapy, just show me. I don't know what to do, and I'm afraid, and I'm confused, and help.
Yes.
So 2 days later, I got a book that was mailed to me from a man in Alaska who I've never met, but he knew my dad. And he sent me a book that was a pretty bold move, really. And he sent me a controversial book called God's Way to Ultimate Health.
Right.
And, hey, the title says God's Way to Ultimate Health. Maybe this is an answer to prayer.
Right.
So I start reading the book, and turns out the man who wrote it had colon cancer, just like me, but he didn't have surgery or chemo or radiation. He radically changed his diet and his lifestyle, and his body healed. And as I read his testimonial and read as his book talked a lot about nutrition and why we're sick, because we're eating all this man-made processed food, and we're eating a Western diet, also known as the standard American diet.
Yeah.
And this is the cause of so many of our diseases.
Yes.
chronic diseases like cancer, heart disease, diabetes, etc.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm reading this book and I'm like, man, this guy makes a lot of sense. And I knew within the first chapter it was an answer to prayer. I mean, there's just no doubt in my mind. I knew it.
Yeah.
And it was a powerful,
a direct
emotional
answer. A direct answer in the mail.
Yeah. And it was a very powerful and very emotional moment for me, sitting there in my living room on the couch by myself, reading the first chapter of this book and reading this guy's story. And so I knew that this was it. Like, I asked for something. This is what I got.
Yes,
I'm doing it.
You got an answer. Mm-hmm.
Just like that. Like, this is what I'm doing. I got it. Like,
right.
Loud and clear. I called my wife. I was super pumped, and I was like, I got this book, and I've read it, and now I know what I'm going to do. And I'm going to do this raw food diet. I'm going to start juicing, and I'm not going to do chemo. And she's like, oh no, you're still doing chemo.
Yeah.
You have to do chemo.
Right. Which is the normal answer. Which is the loving, normal answer.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and she was really concerned. Well, she calls her mom, and then people are, all the family members are calling each other, and then they're calling me, like saying, we heard you're thinking about not doing chemo, and you really have to do chemo because the doctors know best, and don't you think if something else worked, they would know about it and they would be using it? And I know someone that tried alternative therapies and they died.
Yes, and the chemo intervention.
Yes. And so I all of a sudden had this fresh injection of fear and doubt in my mind. Yeah. And so that made things even more complicated. The next day, I mean, this all happened within just a few days, right? I immediately changed my diet. I jumped right on board, bought a juicer, like, I'm doing this, right?
Right.
And family members are like, please, will you just talk to the oncologist? We just go hear what he has to say. Of course, my wife wanted me to as well. And they love me, right? They're just trying to help.
Of course.
I don't fault them for it at all. But what they didn't know is how much anxiety and stress they were producing, they were causing for me. But it's okay. I forgive them. It's fine. Right. So I agree to go meet the oncologist. We go to the clinic. The parking lot's packed. The waiting room's packed. I sit down. I'm looking around, just trying to connect with somebody.
Right. Right.
Just trying to figure out who are these people, who are the people in this group that I'm now a part of, right? Mm-hmm. And the Cancer Patient Club. And I'm looking around the room, and first of all, you understand, I have like long kind of shaggy hair. I was a musician, like kind of a rocker dude. I had a handlebar mustache. I was like, I'm looking around, and everyone in there was literally gray hair.
Right.
Gray hair. Great. 50, 60, 70, 80-year-old people. And me and my wife, and we look like teenagers.
Right.
And the television is on. And we're waiting to go back, and the Today Show's on, or one of those morning shows. And out comes Jack LaLanne. Jack LaLanne is the guest of the moment.
Right.
And he comes out and he starts going off about nutrition. He's saying, this is the reason we're sick, because we're eating all this processed food and fast food and junk food and too much meat and dairy. And we need to go back to eating fruits and vegetables and juicing. And I just couldn't believe that was on the television.
Right, at that moment.
At that very moment. Where I was sitting in the cancer clinic,
That's
right?
It. Yep.
And I turned and looked at my wife, and I was like, can you believe this is on right now?
Right.
And she was like, yeah, it's pretty weird. So we go back and see the oncologist, and any cancer patient listening to this interview knows exactly what I'm talking about right now. But, oncologists and even a lot of doctors, they become very robotic over the years. Before they come in to see you, they're flipping through your chart real quick. Who's this guy? What's he got? Okay. You get the quick summary.
Right.
So then they walk in. Okay, you're Chris. Hi, Chris. I'm the doctor. You've got colon cancer. This is the treatment we recommend. You have about a 60% chance of living 5 years with this therapy. And... just the standard pitch, right? Right. But that didn't inspire much confidence.
Right.
60% chance of living 5 years.
That's not a lot.
There was no mention of cure, right? And so I said, well, are there any alternative therapies available? And he said, no, there are none. If you don't do chemotherapy, you're insane.
Nice.
Yeah. I said, we asked him about the raw food diet. I think my wife did. I'm already on it. She said, well, can you do the raw food diet? And he was like, no, you can't do the raw food diet. It'll fight the chemo. Yeah. What does that mean?
Yeah.
And then I asked him if there were. I already told you. I asked him about alternative therapies, and the rest of the meeting was basically a blur. Like I just kind of, it was like deer in the headlights.
Mm-hmm. How much time did he give you without doing chemo?
I didn't ask him.
Okay.
I didn't ask him.
He just said you were insane if you didn't do it.
Right. Okay. And I didn't say I'm not doing chemo.
Right.
We just asked him questions, but based on the questions we asked, he I'm sure understood that I was thinking about not doing chemo.
Right.
So, I went into that clinic full of confidence in what I was doing. Mm-hmm. And after that brief few minutes with this oncologist, I was so afraid. I mean, cancer clinics are like the fear factory. I mean, they use fear to motivate you to take immediate action. It's like, if you don't do what I say, you're going to die.
Right.
And, if you don't have this surgery, take these drugs, you're going to die.
Yeah.
And by the way, if you do have surgery and take these drugs, you may still die. So
a lot of good news. My dad's favorite joke was when he was in the middle of all that treatment. He said, "What's the difference between God and a doctor?" Have you heard that joke?
Oh, I've heard it, and I forgot the punchlines.
God doesn't think he's a doctor. So he wasn't real happy with the whole thing,
I walked out of that office and made an appointment at the front desk to get a port put in to start chemotherapy in a few weeks.
Okay.
Because he had just, used fear to manipulate my emotions, and I didn't know what to do. Right. And so we walked out, we sat in her car, and we held hands, and we cried, and we prayed together. And that was one of the scariest moments of my life right there. I mean, I was so afraid and so confused. But fortunately, I still had time to recover from surgery. I still had a few more weeks. And it was during that time that I really pressed into God and really thought about my life and my situation and what I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. And I realized that I had to make a very difficult choice. I had, on one hand, a brightly lit, well-paved road that everyone was going down.
Right.
And everyone who went down that road got all the encouragement and support and everything they needed, right? All their needs were met.
Right.
And it's almost like the conveyor belt at the airport, you just stand on it. You don't even have to walk. It just takes you down.
Yep.
And then you get on an express train that's like fully luxury train. You just get on and they just whisk you away.
Road more traveled.
On my right hand, I had a jungle with no path that I had to hack through alone at night.
Okay. Right.
In the dark. And those were the stark contrast, my two options, right? It was like, on one hand, it was like everybody supports this decision, and the other hand, it's just me and Jesus.
Right.
So
but he's pretty big.
Yeah.
God's for you. Yeah. So anyway,
I'm telling you, I knew that was the path. Right. I knew that was the one. And it was still very hard to make that decision, but I knew that was it. And what's so tragic is so many cancer patients I've talked to hundreds and coached them, counseled them, everything. And almost everyone I talked to says, I didn't want to do chemo. It didn't make sense to me. I didn't want to do it. I didn't have a good feeling about it. Right. But everybody was telling me I had to do it. And that's the only reason I did it is because everybody said I had to.
Right.
And now I'm worse, right? It didn't work. And now I'm stage 4. And
I know. I have regrets on that. I told my dad he didn't have a choice. He had to have chemo. And in the end, that's what, he died of. Was just the effects of that. So I particularly personally feel vested in making sure your message gets out there.
Well, listen. Yeah. And you're doing the best you can with the information you have at the time.
Right.
And wasn't that amazing? He is truly inspirational. And if you'd like to listen to the entire interview and not just the spotlight, please do free subscribe to my YouTube channel, where you'll hear even more amazing things and what he's doing. And you can still find him too. So we'll be having him on before the end of the year, I'm sure. So that is it for today's rendition of take my advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, the station that leaves no listener behind, and the number one talk news station in the Inland Empire, by the way. Just found that out. And I just found out too, I forgot to celebrate and let you know, I did put it on my social post that I just found out that after my first 3 months on the air on the morning show in this 8 a.m. slot, I am the number one news talk host. Thanks to you for tuning in and making that true. So I'm going to give myself a little applause just to practice what I talked about it earlier in the show. Yes, I'm baking my own cake and I'm receiving some icing. Yes, I do approve of me 88% of the time, and I receive the compliment. That's it. This is Dr. Marissa reporting live from my living room during the pandemic, reminding you that it's all about balance. Peace in, peace out, world peace through inner peace, and have the best day ever.